All right, guys. So this is the 30-minute intermission to our 4-hour show. What I'm going to do is I've got a couple guests here from the show, and I'm just going to ask a couple questions, some personal questions, some questions about mental health, just to get to know you guys better and whatnot, and just kind of how your brain works a little bit better. So, the first question is, how are you guys? Genuinely, how are you? Not just like I'm okay, like a legit answer because I feel like people ask you how you are all day, and your first response is, oh, I'm good, but that's not always the case. Sometimes it is, sometimes not, but genuine answer. Who wants to go first?
Volunteer August.
All right, so neither of you. All right, so I'll go first. Um, Honestly, I'm all right. Depression and mental health is something I deal with on a daily basis. Lately, I've just been really excited for this show that is coming up. This is the pre-recorded. Obviously, this show is coming up 3 days from when we're recording this. I've been super excited for it, but also a little nervous and like stressed out trying to get everything together and planned out and whatnot. So that is how I'm doing. How about Skedaddle? You go.
So, if we're like genuinely talking about mental health and shit, I was just recently diagnosed with, instead of dissociative identity disorder, I was diagnosed with schizoactive paranoia. That's how my mental health is going, and I don't know how I feel about that diagnosis. I don't like it.
What
I don't
for
like it at all.
people don't really know much about that because I'm not sure. It sounds kind of self-explanatory, but you want to go into a little bit of detail. What
Um,
exactly?
so I do have hallucinations and delusions of like my anxiety. When people aren't in my direct view, it looks like they are staring directly at me, and people in my head are yelling at me and telling me that I am being judged and that I look stupid and stuff like that. So it's pocket schizophrenia,
Okay,
pretty
that's
much.
a interesting way to describe it. Um, but that's definitely a
It's how my psychiatrist did.
pocket. That's how your psychiatrist actually described it as pocket schizophrenia, huh? That's
Pocket
interesting.
schizophrenia.
We just carry it around with you, just little ball of fucking.
Yeah, so it's like yeah.
What about
But
you,
it
August? How are you doing?
Um, kind of iffy, like back and forth between being good and not being great. Yesterday wasn't a great day. Today's a little bit better. Um, Yesterday kind of had to deal with some stuff with my parents and it went really bad really quick.
It does generally with family. That's how
Yeah.
it goes, especially with family. Those are the worst fights. Those are the worst.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, even with like family or a new diagnosis or whatever, the most important thing, like you said, is to take it day by day and just like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so like, I mean, honestly, I take it hour by hour. Like when I woke up this
Yes.
morning, I was not really feeling ready for the day or ready to do anything, but sometimes you just gotta like, I'll be okay in like an hour, just sit and relax or something, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
there's always something. Um so it kind of that I mean, we kind of answered this question already, but it kind of leads me into the next question, which is what's a challenge you faced recently to do with your mental health, and how did you overcome it or cope with it? And if you want, I will again go first. I think one of the biggest challenges I've faced lately is, like I said, I'm very scatterbrained and my organization skills aren't very good. And to do this show, you need a lot of organizational skills, and I tend to get very stressed out and overwhelmed, and sometimes take it out on the others around me. And sometimes what I do to cope with that is I need to just learn to just set the phone down and walk away from whatever it is I'm working on or doing at the time, because sometimes it's just I get too focused on it and too engaged in it. I'm just like super obsessed with it, and I can't think of anything else, and I can't focus on anything else till I get it done. But that's not always the best thing. But so that's one of my biggest challenges and how I cope with it. Who would like to go next?
I'll go. One of my biggest challenges is productivity. I'm in like emotional and physical level. I'm in pain like a lot of times, so it's hard to get out of bed and like actually clean and do shit for myself. And I do have to do a lot of my cleaning sitting down because you know how my legs are, Dylan.
Yeah.
So that's how I cope. I sit down and clean most of the time. I have to sit in I sit to do pretty much anything. That's one of my biggest challenges in how I cope.
I understand. August?
Mostly processing and dealing with trauma. It's been not recently, but like for a long time I haven't gone to therapy, and I've somewhat recently started getting into therapy again. And I shared some of the stuff about stuff with my family and stuff that happened to me in high school. And she was like, "You do realize that is trauma, right?" And I was like,
yeah.
No.
And sometimes you don't always like, you just think of it as like, oh no, this is just how I grew up. You don't know anything different. Yeah. And then someone points out to you, no, dude, you're you got issues you need to deal with. And sometimes that's the first step, is just like confronting the issues.
Yes. And that's been like a big thing lately, especially like I said, I got in a bit of a thing with my family yesterday. Like that was they pretty much told me something about how with my mental health, I'm just a bunch of added responsibility. And I lost it.
Yeah. I can see how that would be triggering. Yeah. We got Beelzebub coming in here. I'm gonna bring her up real quick and just fill her in real quick. Hey, how you doing? We're recording right now. We're recording the intermission. So far, we've gone through like 2 questions. So I'll just ask you real quick. The first question is, how are you doing, like, for real?
On a real level, I would say, well, I haven't been doing okay, but that's kind of like the real talk of my entire life. But I would say that I'm surviving. I know for some people that kind of means, oh, you're at the bottom of the barrel, but if the bottom of the barrel is all you know, then surviving just kind of feels good sometimes.
Yeah, we were kind of just touching on that a little bit. Is, she was saying that her therapist or guidance counselor or whatever had pointed out that that she had trauma that she didn't even know about, and it's just kind of like, well, when it's all you know, it's just all you know. You don't really think it's just your life. You don't really think of it as like, but compared to other days, how are you doing? If you had to like put a rating on it.
I would say today's a good day.
That's good. The other question that we already went over is, what's a challenge that you faced recently that affected your mental health, and how did you cope with it or deal with it?
Well, recently I had somebody living in my house who shouldn't have been here. And I had to make a couple hard choices. I had to face a lot of harsh kind of criticisms and stuff from family. Had to protect myself and things like that. And it impacted my mental health. Last night I had a nightmare about it. But it's just kind of the way it's impacted my mental health, I guess, is just by reopening old wounds or maybe creating new ones. I'm not entirely sure yet. The situation is still fresh enough to where I'm learning.
Yeah, you're still processing all of it, going, figuring out how you feel about everything. I understand that. I currently live in a house with more people than I would like, and that's pretty much been my whole life. I've lived in a house with a lot of people, and there's always that one or those two people that you're not gonna ever be okay with them being there, and it's just not. No. Yeah, I absolutely understand that.
Yeah.
I understand that.
Exactly that. Am
So
I in camera frame, by the way?
what's that?
Am I in frame?
Yeah, you're good. You're good. I think
Yeah.
we're
In the mask, I'm blind, so
Did you
can't actually see anything.
did you add horns to your mask, or were those already there?
I added them.
Oh, you did? That's super cool.
I was about to ask that.
So cool. Okay.
I was like, I don't think those were there before. Yeah, that's super cool. So the next question, I guess it's a little more general than personal. What is when I say mental health, what does that mean to you personally, and why is it important to you? And I'll start. I'll start off. Mental health to me, I think, is less of like. I think people think of mental health as more of like a movement and less of like a state of being. Very few people actually think about their own mental health as in a like in their state of being. Like, do I feel literally mentally healthy? And that doesn't mean you have to be happy necessarily, just healthy. Am I doing things like, am I in a place in my life that I want to be? If not, am I doing things to move towards that? Do I feel good about myself mentally? And if the answer is no, that's 100% okay. And that most times for me, the answer is no. I don't really feel good about myself. I have to work to put myself on camera because I don't feel like I even deserve to be here. But I think that, like, when I think of mental health, it's like when my perfect picture of my own mental health would be making a living off what I love doing, and feeling like I'm doing everything that I guess I can to be where I want to be in my life. You can't always get to where you want to be exactly, but as long as you're kind of doing everything you can to like be in the mental state you want to be, and like, you know what I mean? Like, there's times when I want to just lay in bed and not get out of bed or turn off my phone, and that would be a mentally unhealthy thing to do. The mentally healthy thing to do is get your ass out of bed, splash some cold water on your face and whatever, listen to some music, have a smoke, go for a walk, whatever it is you do. But I think that mental health is just taking the steps to make yourself as positive and healthy and productive as you can. And I think it's important for me because, mental health obviously plays a big part in what I do with the show and with writing and whatnot. So it's very important there, but it's important in my everyday life because I have to like maintain a cool head without going to jail or, a psych hospital or something like that. So that's why it's important to get out of bed and take those walks or whatnot. Who else would like to speak on that?
I can. It's pretty much like you said for me, like a state of being, like where you are mentally and your health and things like that. It's played a big part of my life. It's played a big part of my family's lives and my friends. And it's just something that like people need to know that it's okay not to be okay. That you can speak out, to somebody that you trust and not be judged. Like, it's a big thing. That's
Right.
It's important to know, like, you should be allowed to speak about what's going on and how you're feeling and not feel like you're going to be criticized or judged or torn down for it. I'm actually, like, other than it just being important to me and what I've gone through and what my siblings have gone, like, everything, it's just like I'm trying to, like, develop, like, a career in mental health and psychology. I'm trying to, like, get a degree to work as a rehab specialist for alcohol and drug prevention. Like,
Wow.
it's been a thing that's affected my life and, like, family and friends' lives, and that's, like, what I want to do for a living, is help people with drug and alcohol addiction.
I support that 100%. I love that. I mean, for a while I thought about like going into some kind of therapy or something like that. It's that I admire you because that takes a hell of a lot of work, and you got your work cut out for you for sure. But it's definitely worth it. It's a worthy cause, and I appreciate that. That's awesome. And I hope you're able to help some people. I mean, we even if like I said, and I always say on the show, like, we're helping people just by doing this.
Yes.
Just by doing this, just by talking, just by writing, we're helping people just by doing this. So you're already starting, and you're already halfway there. Who else would like to speak on it?
I can. Mental health is, what it means to me, it really is something my entire life revolves around. And it does in, a way that it's beneficial for myself, for everyone I love, and also, kind of like August, it is a dream career of mine. But mental health really is, I guess, state of being is a good way to describe it, but because I am who I am, it's more like mental health is the sun, and every day it's just trying to revolve around it, get closer to it, understand it, in general, just for everything, not just me, but it's just mental health is one of those things that is so rarely given the attention that it deserves in the way that it deserves, because you can raise mental health awareness as much as you want, but there's still going to be this impact of, are you reaching the right people? Are you talking about this in the right way for those people? And it's something that you just have to discover over time through, like, trial and error. And I think mental health is extremely important. I would say, honestly, to me, in a general sense, it is the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, we have to. If we don't focus on mental health, we can't do anything else. Our own mental health comes first. You can't do anything. You can't even get yourself dressed in the morning if you're batshit insane, drooling at the mouth. But we have to focus on keeping ourselves sane. That is the first and foremost priority is focusing on is mental health. I 100% agree. Skedaddle, would you like to talk about?
Everything that was said is what I was gonna say. So.
All right. I can move on to the next question then. Sort of. What's your favorite coping mechanism, and sort of how did you discover it, and like how old were you? Yeah, Skedaddle, your hand went right up. Go ahead.
Art. Art has been my coping mechanism since I could pick up a pencil. I remember the reason I got put into therapy is because of how much of a coping mechanism art was for me. I showed it off to my teacher, and she was like, "You need help."
Wow,
The
instead
same
of
thing happened.
you need help. Teachers, man. Teachers.
No, literally. But coping and counting. Counting is also an amazing coping mechanism that not many people really know about.
Yeah, I mean, I heard that from one of my guidance counselors at one point, was that he did he does prime numbers in his head, only the prime ones. And when you, it's easy to remember the first few, but then once you get up high enough, you're like 200, and you know what I mean. Like you can't, and
Yeah.
it forces your brain to focus on something else. Is what
Yeah.
it does.
I
Absolutely.
love counting. Counting is good.
Same.
What do you do, Beelzebub, when you're stressed out? Or
Well, my first coping mechanism, I would say, is just creative things. I tried to do art. I used to be a big art person. Kind of the same story as Skedaddle. One of the bigger things that got me into therapy was, I think it was actually my bus driver found a drawing I had done, and it was a very bad, in the mental health sense, drawing, and that's kind of what got therapy started for me. But I've always been creative. Poetry isn't now, but I would say the coping mechanisms I use most commonly are actual DBT skills. If I can show something off real quick, this might be slightly embarrassing on my end, but this is my wall of DBT skills.
okay, all right.
DBT, may I ask?
Skedaddle is not familiar. Can you explain that to her a little bit?
Just explain DBT skills.
Yeah.
DBT is a style of therapy that's commonly used for disorders that really need to dig deep to kind of unwind. And DBT skills, they're usually acronyms and stuff that help deal with emotional regulation, mindfulness, distress tolerance, and interpersonal relationships, which kind of means like friends and family and loved ones. It's really neat. It's my favorite form of therapy I found, and it's what I hope to become in the future, is a DBT centered therapist.
I like that. That is interesting and unique. Like I've been to all the therapists there are, and I've tried almost all of it. Everything from meditation to counting to everything. So, but that is probably one of the more like unique methods that and also your wall. That's really cool. I like how you have it all organized. It keeps your thoughts out. It like
It's
your
just
thoughts
like how
keeps it right in front of you, so you can look at it every day and see it.
yeah, it's the psychology nerd in me. There's also a little bit of neuroscience stuff up there.
I mean, it's a little beautiful mind, you know, but it's I August, you have not gone yet, right?
Yeah.
What is
my
your favorite mechanism?
main thing, and probably my only thing, is writing. Poetry or short stories or role play stuff. That was something I've done that since like middle school. And that's again another thing that got me into therapy. I showed it to a teacher, and my teacher was like, "This is not good."
Usually that's what happens. I'm just like, well, I'm not out there like hurting people. I'm just writing.
Yeah,
I'm just writing stuff.
writing my stories, and she was like, "Let me just take you to a counselor real quickly."
Yeah.
You know what? I think you need to talk to someone.
Exactly.
I actually looked at a therapist and I was like, you know what? I think you need to talk to someone. It's not the right thing to say to a therapist. I would recommend
Turn
it.
the tables.
Reverse psychology.
How the turntables.
Yeah, turn it on them.
Reverse psychology. I think you need to be the person to talk to somebody, actually.
Yeah, just you walk in their office, just sit at their desk. Okay, so how does that make you feel? So obviously my coping mechanism, it's writing. But also I love nature, man. Like I live in the middle of nowhere, and I mean I'll write out there in nature too, but sometimes I'll just sit out there and listen to the trees, or I'll listen to audiobooks and music and stuff like that. But I mean sometimes, man, it's just good to just turn off the phone and listen to nature too. And that's definitely something that always like gets me back in the right headspace. Just being out like in a clearing, or I just walk down a trail, find a stump that looks comfortable and sit on it, and that's how I clear my mind. That's definitely one of my biggest coping mechanisms when I can't write or when I need a space to go write, and get it out that way. So what is my next question here? What was your experience like and your perspective on mental health as like a younger kid, and then how has it changed and what's your experience and perspective on it now? I guess I'll go first. I didn't actually, before we recorded this, didn't think of any of my answers to these questions, so this is right off the top of the head. I would say that when I was younger, when I was a lot younger, I was a lot happier. I don't think my mental health issues started until I was around like 8 or 9. And it was always something that like, I didn't understand why I got so angry. I didn't understand, why my, I would go high and then low and then high and then low or whatever. I've never actually been officially diagnosed with bipolar, but I do have those highs and lows. And as a young kid, it's very hard to understand that. And so it's scary in a way, but it's also just like you were saying earlier, it's just all really, it's so it's not like a different thing to you. Once somebody, and this goes into how I feel about it now and how my perspective has changed. Once somebody puts a label on it and like tells you like you're bipolar or you have ADHD or like whatever, it changes the whole game. And it makes you feel like you don't have this condition. It makes you feel like you are this condition. And one of the most important things that I always say with anybody who has any type of mental health condition is, you are not your condition. You have this condition, but it does not define you. You are not what the doctor labeled you as. And nowadays, I mean, back when our parents were kids, they didn't even have names for half of this shit. And nowadays they're coming up with even more names for stuff that we just called anxiety. You know what I mean? Now there's like different sections of anxiety and different, like, you know what I mean? They're labeling everything. And I'm sorry. You want to speak?
No, it's just fact that my.
Oh, you have to head out. That's okay.
Yeah,
no
I had an amazing time though.
We'll catch you later. No problem.
Catch you later. How do I?
Like I was saying, sorry, what was I saying? I lost it too.
I lose thoughts so quickly too.
Yeah, that's what I mean about being scatterbrained.
I have a question.
Yes.
My camera has been frozen for like the last 10 minutes.
Huh.
Is it also the same for you guys, or am I moving?
Right now, your camera is off, actually.
Okay, what's happening?
I'm not sure. I can adjust your mic, but I don't think I can adjust your camera from my end. But we can still hear you okay. I do remember what I was saying about how my perspective has changed, though. I don't think it's necessarily great that people are putting all these labels on it. It's good that they're studying the science and they're bringing more awareness to it. But I think all these labels are very scary to kids, and they can have a negative impact on them. We lost Beelzebub, but I hope she comes back. We're actually almost out of time. I just got a couple more questions. Actually, really, it's one question, but it's a kind of a two-part question. Is there anything that's been on your mind lately? Anything that we didn't cover that you would like to talk about? And I guess the second part of the question is, if you could have the whole world's attention for 5 minutes, what would you say? I'm gonna get Beelzebub's back up here. I'm gonna repeat the question. This is our last question, and we'll get out of here. It's a two-part question. First of all, is there anything that's been on your mind lately that we didn't cover that you'd like to talk about? And second, if you could have the whole world's attention for 5 minutes, what would you say? Whoever would like to go first.
I can go first. So the first question, if there's anything on my mind that we haven't talked about yet, I really do just want to encourage people, anyone who watches this to, even if you don't feel comfortable going to a therapist yet, even if you don't feel comfortable with the fear of getting a diagnosis, I would start Googling. That's how I started for myself, was really just delving deep into Google and just looking up coping mechanisms and doing my own research. You can find things out about yourself without ever really needing to figure out what is wrong with you. Just if you always look for ways to better yourself, you will start finding ways to better yourself and make things feel less bad. So that's just one thing, I want to motivate people to help themselves. But if I had the world's attention for 5 minutes, I think I might just say that same exact thing. Some people won't even understand me because I don't speak every language to exist, but at least.
Yeah, you definitely have a very strong way of wording things. You definitely reach. I think you'll reach a lot of people with your message. You definitely, every time you come on the show, I get tons of people that you talk with your message and how you word things. So, August, would you like to
Pretty much just kind of like I said earlier, it's okay to not be okay. And it's okay to reach out for help. I think that's just a really important thing that people are still learning how to do. We're so focused on being independent and helping ourselves and doing things for ourselves that we forget how to ask for help whenever we need it. And I honestly, if I had the world's attention for 5 minutes, I would say that exact same thing like B. Just, it's okay to ask for help. Dylan, I'm sorry to interrupt. It's showing that you're muted.
How long has that been there? Anyway.
I'm so confused.
It was funny that you guys were muted. I could not hear you guys. It sounded like you guys were underwater. It's my phone, guys. I'm rocking with the Android circa 2014, okay?
Trying something new here is not gonna run perfect. say what I said over again, so people don't just That's gonna be such a fun time for them. During intermission, just watching me go. Anyway, what I did say when I was muted was what. Hang on, I have to mute you because I'm echoing. Okay. What I said while I was muted was that exactly what they were saying. It is okay not to be okay. It is okay to ask for help. But also it is going to be okay. My mom had a saying. She used to say, "This too shall pass." It's kind of I think it's a quote from the Bible, and it means that we've been through this before. There's been pain in the past, and this will pass again. We will get through this again. So I think that's just the most important thing to remember is we've been through this before. We'll get through it again, and just keep fighting through the dark times to get to the light ones. And that's what life's all about. I appreciate you guys for coming on. Is there anything else you want to say before we head out of here?
Nope. I can't think of it.
Right.
Nope.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for coming on. I appreciate it.